The most devastating moments on paternity court.
It has been determined by this court that Charles Lee Jr. and Carla Lee are not related to Patrick Lee.
No,
Jesus,
no,
but I love you.
We're not doing this. We're not doing this. He doesn't
Give him a minute. That was tough.
Miss Jet, you so diplomatic now. And I asked you, could there be anyone else? And you said no, and then as soon as I read the result, you went straight into politician mode.
Charles Lee's children have dragged their stepbrother to the court to prove they weren't related, even though they had respected their father's choice of raising the defendant as their son. But now they refuse to play along with the notion.
And we were sort of estranged from Patrick after my father had died. There was never a blood test done.
Yeah, though we weren't always cozy with Patrick, still there was no denial till recently. The defendant believed that it had to do with their father's will, because sitting on such suspicion doesn't make sense at all. But the elder stepbrother denied it.
He never really looked like us, and people even in the own family would always say to him, and I felt bad sometimes when they would say to him, "Oh, Tinky ain't your father. You got that wrong." And he ended up coming to live with my mom.
The poor defendant grew up in the same house with his siblings across the aisle after his mother gave up on him. So the famous footballer and his wife brought him up. But the plaintiff claimed that, unlike real family, Patrick knew nothing about him.
In the beginning, I didn't know. People would come up to me and tell me, you know, your father is...
Excuse me, if you,
your father,
wait a minute. If he had you all your life and you didn't know and you was hanging out with him, oh, my father was the type of person
As
he'll
I was
tell
saying,
you
Your Honor, before,
about the story.
If you were
He'll
asking
tell
my
you.
father,
My father,
everybody
in Harvey know my father.
So if you his son, you don't know, you didn't know at first?
Even though the Lees were persistent in their claims, the famous football player played full-blown father to the defendant, because he was down with the idea of being Patrick's dad. Quite a man. Regrettably, his children were nothing like them.
I can say this, my father would bring home a stray dog and raise the dog.
Well, this is not a dog.
Yeah,
Right, but what I'm saying, but this is what I'm trying to say to you.
Your point is, it wouldn't surprise you. He basically would look at him as a young man in need.
if it was a question, then why is my father's name on my birth certificate?
Whoa, this woman is something. She just dropped a D word for his possible sibling? Like, what? Skip the paternity. Who can live with such people? All grown up and acting like children. Anyway, let's get to the birth certificate part.
Just a moment ago, presented your birth certificate with your father's name is listed as father. How are you feeling?
I didn't know he felt like that.
Don't start talking.
I don't feel no kind of way. You brought this to me. I ain't bring nothing. I should be standing where you at.
Patrick, I can see this is hurting you too.
Like I said, we're gonna see DNA.
Sir, you're not gonna out-talk me here today.
I'm sorry.
Now let's get something straight.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can run this toxicity in your casa, cause Lake runs this place. By now, it was established that Charles Lee seniors were messing with the defendant's mother, so there was a chance of relatedness.
Myself and her got into plenty of arguments. Your mother is a slut because she messed with a married man.
And
you ain't
I'll
nothing but
say
a
it to
yada,
today.
yada. I'm a baby.
Because
I'm a
she
kid.
knew
I'm a
she
kid.
knew my father was
My parents
married.
been married.
Everybody
They've been
know.
married- they've been
My
together
mother
since
been with
they
my
was
father
12 years
since she
old.
was-
Most importantly, my father knew he was married.
Yeah,
Okay?
exactly.
So
Right.
therefore,
We
for him to tell my mother,
He knew he was married. What
who's to blame? You
He
can't
took
blame
care
my
of you.
mother.
Okay, let's get some order.
It's like these people have no ounce of compassion in them, cutting no slack to a man whose whole existence might strip it away if the results show what we aren't hoping for. Speaking of which, let's just get that envelope.
In the case of Lee versus Lee, it has been determined by this court that Charles Lee Jr. and Carla Lee are not related to Patrick Lee.
Lord Jesus, Jesus,
No,
but I
we're not
love
doing
you.
this. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. If he doesn't
Give him a minute. That was tough.
Summer flings are mere follies that can lead to bad paternity episodes. But Mr. Koger here was sure that he should be held accountable for the plaintiff's child, as he wasn't intimate enough to make a baby.
Mr. Koger, why do you oppose the test?
Because we didn't have sex.
Tell me how you met.
We would hang out. When we met, we were cool. We would talk on the phone, laugh it up, stuff like that. So it came to the point where she wanted to come over and stuff like that. So she would come over, we would hang out. Over the next course of time, we ended up being home alone.
Yeah, the potential father started on that note. Well, if so, then why did Miss Ellis drag you into paternity court in the first place? Well, turns out that Mommy's claim had some depth, because they were quote-unquote seeing each other.
We never had intercourse at any time.
This only goes to prove that the testimony that you're giving right now is the truth. Because she's saying if you say so, because she thinks you did have sex.
And if we did have sex, why did you inbox me and ask me, am I certain that my son is not yours?
Okay, that's just big confusion there. No dealing at all, and then just asking about his son? This is gonna be a tough one. So up next, the judge asked the plaintiff about pregnancy, and she said that due to a stroke, she fainted. And after some tests, her mom told her that she was pregnant. Then the defendant shared how he found out about it.
We was friends on Facebook. She was pregnant, I saw her stomach, she was all pregnant, stuff like that. So yes, I did ask her, I said, hey, do you somehow think that it might be mine?
No, you didn't say, do I somehow think it might be yours? You said, is it mine?
And what did you say?
I told you no, because I didn't want to have nothing to do with it. I'm not a drama person, I don't.
It was no drama.
I was with somebody else.
Yeah, if you're so certain, then why ask about the baby? It's fishy behavior. So the judge asked the plaintiff about other possibilities, and she said she was intimate with someone else a week before the defendant's encounter. Then Mr. Koger also presented another proof, which sparked more questions.
Was that the truth, or were you just saying?
I just didn't want him involved.
But I mean, why?
Because I was with somebody else, and they said that it was going to be there. So what's the point?
Well, the point would be if he's the child's biological father, he would have a right to know, and so would the child. Mr. Koger, you're doing a lot of texting about this baby and this encounter that never happened.
Because there's a baby involved.
Guys, I really think this guy's trying to hide something. His statements and actions don't align with each other. Then, the plaintiff shared the defendant and her son's pictures to prove their resemblance. She also stated the reason why she contacted Mr. Koger to tell him about the baby.
The person who I was talking to passed away last year. Before he passed away, he told me that I should tell him, but I didn't want to. My cousin is the main reason why.
We didn't have sex. I had on speakerphone. So she was like, well, yeah. She said, yeah. I said, well, okay. I said, well, I'll support you.
Okay, we get it. But say something more to prove your point, man. Then, the defendant's witness stepped in and said she heard their conversation about the encounter and agreed with Mr. Koger's previous testimony. But the plaintiff brought another proof that shocked everyone.
I know for a fact that following week where the car is, that we had sex that day and we had sex in the car.
So this was after the...
No, this was before.
So the whole time when you say you were alone with him...
That was the second time.
We only had one encounter at my sister's house.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
Upstairs.
All of these far-fetched claims have devastated the judge. It's like all of the information wasn't landing anywhere. And while the judge was trying to figure out what had happened, it got revealed that Mr. Koger wasn't done with his loving giving the plaintiff.
She don't know who she slept with.
And just like you don't know who your man is.
I don't know who my man is.
We don't know that's your husband. Your last name Williams, his last name Koger.
Your Honor, she decided to hit him up
just
4 months after.
Just like you don't know your man was trying to come to see me yesterday, so it's nothing.
Okay,
I got the messages for that too.
Yeah, let's just deal with the matter at hand. Because this court isn't about the grown-ups that can make their choices while children pay for their mistakes. However, now it was time for the conclusive results.
Mr. Koger, you are Zamarian's father. Is your memory coming back now?
Not at all.
What are you thinking, Miss Ellis?
Because he's still denying the fact that we had sex.
Paying to bring up someone else's child? No, that's something Mr. Harvey never signed for. That's why he wants every penny back from the baby mama. Because according to him, he was fooled long enough. And now it was time to set things right.
I met her on a dating site, and she got pregnant 2 weeks after us having sex. She got pregnant.
Your Honor, that's a lie. In July, I started dating Harvey. Every day, I actually moved with Harvey in July. Every day,
in with him?
Yes, I did. And every day we had sex every day.
The plaintiff said that right after their first meeting, they got intimate with each other real quick. And after 2 weeks, Miss Jet got pregnant. But at that time, she was in a different state than him. Even though there was doubt, he stepped up to be the father.
Every day we had sex every day.
You got pregnant 2 weeks.
I didn't find out till I was
we had sex the first week I met you.
I didn't find out till I was pregnant a month later, which was August. Yes,
And
after I found out I got pregnant, that's when I moved.
And told me to buy all this baby stuff.
I asked him, okay.
I did not argue with her.
It takes 9 months for somebody to be pregnant.
What an answer. I didn't appreciate anything just for a pillow? Then the plaintiff told the judge that when she got pregnant, she was involved with someone else and had tagged another dude on the baby's pictures on Facebook, to which Miss Jett gave a confused explanation.
I put a picture of my daughter on Facebook.
Yes, and that right there where the arrow is, that's the dude name who she tagged in the
Okay,
picture. She claimed that the dude out of nowhere tagged himself in it.
He tagged himself
and
in
she
the
doesn't know who he
picture
is.
by himself, and I
And
never
you
met
kept it.
him. I actually wrote the dude and I said, hey, my daughter's dad thinks that you're her father because you tagged yourself in the picture. And he said, oh, I'm sorry.
People don't tag themselves by mistake. Seems a faulty explanation. Then, the plaintiff showed evidence that he paid $100 to Miss Jett multiple times, but she denied that he had just done it once. Next, the defendant shared a completed graph of the baby's expenses to shut him up for his money demand.
He's suing me for $500. Her diapers is a little less than what he's suing me for. And plus her feeding is double that.
I'm suing you for what I got a receipt for.
I provide all these things by myself.
You provided, the state provided. I'm telling you. The
What
feeding,
does
the feeding alone, the state provides. She get wigs. State
So how
provide
does
all
she
that
provide-
something. The state provide all that.
Then, the plaintiff shared that Miss Jett was not innocent at all, but she'd been shady again when she told him of another pregnancy, and he checked her phone and read a message that she had asked another dude to pay for her abortion, but the defendant denied it. Next, the judge asked Mr. Harvey's witness for her testimony.
What do you know about this doubt?
All I know is that when she had the baby, looking at my nephew's other children, we have strong genes. And all his brothers look alike, his brother's kids look alike.
And I have
They have the same heads, and our family have big eyes. The baby don't resemble me, Xavier,
Looks
or
like
Xavier's
me.
family.
She looks
His children look just alike from different moms. Everybody looks like the Harveys or the Highsmith. Baby has no genes of us at all.
They always bring in the strong gene argument into their testimonies, but this one is a strong one, as she mentioned lots of it. Next, the judge straight away jumped to ask the defendant's witness to give her testimony on this matter. But this led to some arguments between both parties.
He called me and told me that Shadasia was pregnant.
I didn't meet.
No, he hadn't met me, but you called me and told me my daughter is pregnant. I shouldn't worry about you leaving.
I did not know
me.
Miss Kim until after the baby was born.
No,
How can
you
I talk to
didn't
her if
know
I
me.
didn't know her. I
You
just met
lied.
Shadasia.
She didn't tell me.
Now we have some lies that can add confusion. After their arguments, the plaintiff was throwing words in the air just to come up with a good argument, but he failed. So the judge asked him why he turned his back on Miss Jett, and he gave more explanations.
I stopped seeing the babies because she had threatened my life, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know her, and I got other kids, and I wasn't gonna go through that. I told her, I said, you know what? Just go through child support, and if it's mine, then I will be there, and I will do everything.
Carelessness and lies often make you end up in situations like these. Both parties were ignorant, but there wasn't a moment of love and care for the baby. Seeing this behavior, the judge only read the results to settle things back at their place.
Mr. Harvey, you are not her father. Miss Jett, you so diplomatic now. And I asked you, could there be anyone else? And you said no, and then as soon as I read the result, you went straight into politician mode.
Now, this is one for the record books. You hardly ever come across cases where a whole grown woman comes into court to prove that her father is her father. And that's exactly what 55-year-old Miss Holshoe is doing today.
You say Miss Holshoe is dragging your father's name through the mud, and there is absolutely no way she is related to you. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
So, Miss Holshoe, why do you believe you're related to the Howard?
My mother and Mr. Howard both told me that he was my father, and also family members have also said that I'm his daughter.
This is gonna be a pretty interesting case. The Howard family wants nothing to do with Miss Holshoe, and they're pretty tired of how she's been dragging their father's name in the mud for so many years. But if Miss Holshoe wasn't his daughter, why would he mention her in his obituary?
Our father's sister and her mother were best friends, and our aunt is the one that told her that she possibly might be related to us.
That's not true, Your Honor.
That is true.
I had a relationship with Mr. Howard.
No.
Through the years after I found out that he was my father.
So, it turns out Miss Holshoe has end-stage cancer, and she just wants answers to a lot of questions in her life. And for that, Judge Lauren thinks it's fair. She asks the Howard sisters if they had ever heard of Miss Holshoe when they were little kids. and this is what they had to say.
We were from California. He had us all meet him out at an old country bar. We showed up, and her mother was there.
That?
And I'm talking.
I don't even remember that. She's
please
lying, and I'm not a that. If anybody's a that, look
whatever
over
the
there.
case may be,
You know, what's the
may
big
be.
deal if he is
I'm
my
talking.
father? So what? I'm talking
I
too.
could care less if
What's
he
the
is.
big
Can I
deal?
say
He's not my
something?
father, is it?
All right, ladies, one at a time.
Well, the Howard sisters just turned out to be super nasty. When one of them was 19, Mr. Howard introduced all of them to Miss Holshoe and told all of them that this is their sister. But the three of them continue to say that their father wasn't in the right mind, and Miss Holshoe is just a delusional troublemaker.
When I was 17, I had moved to California to live with my father. I flew out with her younger sister. I lived there for quite a while, and her name was never, ever mentioned to me. From her mother, from my father, no one.
And just to be clear, your mother and father were married.
Yes.
It's pretty unfair to Miss Holshoe how the Howard sisters keep treating her. The poor lady just wants a little clarity at this point. Looks like there's another Howard sister called Kelly, and looks like that's one Howard sister who's on Miss Holshoe's side.
We were out one day, and I was about 19, and he said that he wanted me to meet one of his girlfriends. Okay, I had met several of them before.
Thought you said you were 17.
No big deal. So we go to Lynn's mother's. He introduces me to her as my sister.
You never questioned it?
No.
And now they start fighting over family reunions. It's a whole mess in the court, with the three Howard sisters yelling at poor Miss Holshoe and calling her a liar. They keep saying she doesn't know anything about the family reunion, when the fact is, Miss Holshoe attended one where they chased her out by calling her nasty things.
If we wanted to beat you up, we would have done it.
And I asked questions.
You did it because your dad taught you.
Listen, I know one thing. You all might not be sisters, but you're acting like it.
I was not.
She bulldozed in. Nobody asked her to come.
I'm
we
his
didn't
daughter.
even know she
When
was
you say she
not.
bulldozed, what do you mean? What did she push her way through?
Row.
Miss Holshoe just looks devastated. She just wants to know if Mr. Howard was her father, and if he wasn't, it'll be a huge blow to her, because that means that both he and her mother lied to her. The only way to make the sisters stop yelling is to finally read out the DNA results.
It has been determined by this court that the probability of half-siblingship between Diana Howard and Misty Lynn Holshoe is 98.1%.
I knew it.